You're listening to the Jam Price Show, all about movies. And today, my guest is Jonathan Berman, and we're going to be talking about a documentary that he did 20 years ago. It's the 20th anniversary restoration of a fascinating documentary entitled Commune. Welcome to the show, Jonathan.
Thank you, Jan. Pleasure to be here.
It's nice to have you here. So, why did you decide to reissue this documentary 20 years later?
Well, I figured if it was good enough for Coppola, it's good enough for me. He just, well, it wasn't 20 years, but he just did a reboot of his oh God, the film that he just made that I still want to see in the theater with him. The one he made
Megalopolis?
exactly. And he's doing it where he's appearing with the film in selected cities. So
Right, right.
But more seriously, it's seems like it's a good time for it. When the film first came out, it was almost more of a curio. It was the first documentary about cults and communes, because we have a commune and a cult briefly in the film. So um right now, given the political authoritarianism that seems to be happening in this country, in my opinion,
Yeah,
it seemed like a good time to re-release to give people options. And by the way, not just people on the left or whatever, but everybody wants to know how to do it yourself and go back to the woods and all that, right?
exactly. Exactly. When I was watching that, I was wondering how many people uh, were what their political ideology might be because today, even today, then I mean, because one of the young men said he was a young Republican and he was Ken and his girlfriend was Barbie, and I thought, oh, that's cute, because these are the children of the 50s, many are
Right.
late 40s, 50s,
Sure.
who started to do this. I thought it was fascinating though, because here they want all this freedom,
Right.
and that's what they were trying to do. And yet there were a lot of rules.
Tell me what rules.
A lot of rules. Oh, well, a lot of rules. You couldn't sleep with somebody more than 2 nights. I
You
thought that was kind of
know that
restrictive.
that's Peter Coyote's interpretation. And he's probably, I'm sure he's telling the truth, but less rules and more like manifestos.
Oh, manifestos. Oh,
Like we are a vegetarian unit and we will not kill animals. And then a month later it's we are only eating meat, just not fads exactly, but I think it was like truly like the most anarchistic thing I've ever heard of. And not, when we think of anarchy, we think of disruption and, disarray. And there certainly was that. But I also think in this case, because it was held by a kind of beneficent and bemused, slightly older couple who weren't um, megalomaniacs, it managed to stay together, and became kind of a school for people to pass through. But you're right, it was out of the 50s and every assumption was being challenged, right? So,
right. Well, so our audience knows we didn't give the
right.
background of
Oh,
what commune is all about. So why don't you give a brief synopsis of what commune is all about, and then we can dive into it a little bit more deeply.
sure. Yeah, it follows the story of the Black Bear Ranch, one of the kind of seminal communal communal groups of the 1960s and 70s. And they found some land up in way in the middle of nowhere, near Klamath and not far from Oregon, but deep in the forest. And they bought it for a very small amount of money, which they raised from rock stars and other people who they hit up because they were portraying us in the movies. You're portraying us. We're the real thing. You're acting as us. Now it's time to pay up. So they went to the woods to find Utopia. And I'm not sure anyone said Utopia. That might be something I'm adding, but to find, yeah, bliss, utopia, a new life, a transformed world, however you want to put it. And the only problem was, Jan, is that your utopia is going to be very different from mine. So, so everybody had a different version of what that was. So it was kind of a glorious mess, I think. And then, yeah, as filmmakers, we're always looking for conflict. So when Christian, our co-producer, and I were examining what to do. We got, yeah, entranced by this story because there was conflict on every level, interpersonal because you wanted to farm and I wanted to play the piano in my new robe because surely in the new world, oh, we will have classical music, right? Beautiful music. So I have to practice. And well, why do you get to play piano in your silk robe while I'm out tilling the soil? You know? So there's that interpersonal level. There's the inner level of like, oh my God, here I am in Utopia and I've dragged all my neurotic crap with me. As really well done on White Lotus, right? Like when the first season of White Lotus, if you've seen it, just bringing all the privilege and weirdness to this tropical resort in every season, actually. Great show. And then the societal conflicts as well as the physical. So, it's like screenwriting 101. And what you mentioned before about cannoli, Ken, who becomes cannoli, I mean, you can't write that. That's like so crazy. Like his name was Ken and his girlfriend's name was Barbie, and he was at Mount Tam High in Bay Area, and something happened, and we cut to a photo of him looking very stoned.
It is interesting. You wonder how many, there's so many incredible, interesting people in this film, just in general. Because you go back when you did this 20 years ago, how long had it been since they had all left the commune and went on to have many of them very successful careers doing other
Right,
things?
right. Yeah, great
Uh,
question.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
A lot of people became quite well known in various fields after their experience in the commune. How hard was it to locate them and interview them again and get their perspective on how they felt about their experience in the commune?
We had this litmus test moment when Christian and I went out to a reunion. Some of the people were like, "Well, come to a reunion and we'll talk to you and we'll see what's up." And so we go to this reunion. There's 100 people from Black Bear, various ages, the gamut, and they do this circle thing, which is a classic way of getting people together. And they put us in the middle, and we're in the hot seat. And it's like, "You're the media. Why are you here? What are you doing? Are you here to exploit us or show us in the wrong?" And so we had to kind of talk our way out of it, as as they say, because we weren't there to show them in a bad light. We weren't there to glorify it. Just there to kind of, I guess I'm kind of a cinematic anthropologist, not with a degree in anthropology, that's for sure.
Right. Just document it, for
Yeah, I mean,
posterity.
there's always a point of view. I mean, any film that feels neutral is usually bad. With the exception of something like a Ken Burns, where he just dives so deep in that it's different.
Right.
But
Right.
like for a creative doc, it should feel like it has a point of view. And I think the point of view here, the theme is go ahead and follow what you think you should be doing and make mistakes and get together and see what happens. Just don't go off the deep end. Don't go too crazy with it.
It was fascinating in the way they went about getting the money to buy this land. So let's talk a little bit about that because there are some very well-known people. I really wanted you to touch on the James Colburn story for sure, but
Sure.
Steve McQueen gave money to
He
them.
did? I haven't seen my show notes in a while. Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Steve McQueen
Okay.
did. Michael Antononi, the director. You have Peter Tork from the Monkees. Quite a few well-known Hollywood people or musicians. People from I don't know, lots of different groups too. But that believed in what they were trying to do. Free land for free people, free land, or what was their
Free
theme?
land for free people
Yeah.
was the original slogan.
Yeah. So let's talk a bit about James Coburn because I thought that was really kind of a funny story.
Yeah, James Coburn, a wonderful actor who we all love from his 70s and 60s and beyond performances. They came to his house. I think what originally happened, they kind of had an in somebody had grown up with Linda Ronstadt in Arizona. I think that's where she's from. And knew her. And I think she kind of introduced them. And You
Okay.
know, one thing, Jan, is that back then, and this is somewhat before my time, I was like the very tail end of the baby boom. But back then it was very word of mouth, you didn't like now it's influencers and that word
Right.
makes me want to puke, by the way. Unless you want to be an influencer for the movie screenings that are coming up. Then you're fantastic. COMMUNEthemovie.com is where you find out where they're screening. But it was word of mouth, and somebody knew Linda Ronstadt, and she probably introduced them to Peter Tork. I am working on getting everyone there we're doing a bunch of screenings in the Bay Area in September, 12th through 14th, Berkeley, Sebastopol, which is like a storied town where I've never been to. So I'm coming out and some Black Bear people are coming, maybe even Peter Coyote, who knows? And the other place is in Marin, the classic. And then we move down to Ojai for a free screening, and also to Los Angeles at an amazing, talk about storied history, the Philosophical Research Society. Where are you, Jan?
I'm in Santa Barbara.
Oh, nice. So you could
Yeah,
come to
where are you?
Ojai.
Yeah,
Where,
near Ojai. Yeah, where are you?
we're in New York
Oh,
area, and
where, where I'm
but on the
from.
yeah, there you
Yeah, I'm
go.
an East Coast girl.
That's why you're sharp.
Thank
No,
you.
but these guys were super sharp on Black Bear too. And in fact, a lot of them had East Coast roots. So when I got to the ranch, I was like, wait a minute, why does this feel so familiar? And it turns out a few of the founders had come from Westport, Connecticut, which at one point had been a very groovy um, place. Rod
I lived there. I
Serling,
lived
and
in
you
Westport.
lived there. Okay.
I did.
I,
I
I
did
guess,
briefly.
yeah. But
Yeah.
anyway, where were we? I spun off in a
They
direction.
were going, you were talking about the how different it was, word of mouth and
Word of mouth. Thank you.
yes,
Yeah. So that's, I think, Linda Ronstadt led to Peter Tork. I don't have the exact, but my point was, we will all find out if you come to the screenings, which our tickets are selling pretty quickly. So,
great.
except for Ojai, which is a free one. So that's fun. Um, a matinee. And yeah, it's a wild tale. So, better to go deep than to go wide. So once we started working with the Black Bear people, it's like, okay, this is a great story. There's enough here, more than enough, really. I could have added like 3 or 4 minutes, but
So why bring it back now? I mean, why now? I mean, here you are 20 years later, with a wonderful restoration, an anniversary restoration. But why do you think this film is relevant and important today?
well, 3 words. Well, one initial, 2 words, one initial. Donald J. Trump. The authoritarianism, as I was saying before, in this country is beyond worrying. It's downright scary.
Yeah,
And, to lay that all on one man is wrong. There was mechanisms in place to do all this, what's happening now. Um, Going beyond left and right for a second, the corporatization of the real estate industry has made it very hard for people to pay rent. People used to live in like Santa Barbara. I have a friend who grew up in Isla Vista, right? Is that an
Isla
area?
Vista. Yeah,
Isla Vista, yeah.
yeah.
And it was like $700 for a house or whatever. That's what his dad paid, to rent. So now with corporations who are by charter and law, my understanding of it, business major might correct me, have to produce maximum profit. So not their fault, I suppose, unless they become a C corp, which is not C corp, B corp, which is the way to go. It's more maybe B for beneficent. But yeah, we're being priced out of real estate. So there is an alternative of people living together. How to do that? Here's a good field manual on how not to do it. And all the trials and tribulations and what happens when you drag your own neuroses with you, which is fun. There's some great neurotic, super smart people in the film. Jan, I don't know if this has ever happened on your podcast, but I have to check on my chicken soup. I'll bring the computer with me, so keep going.
No,
Like
this is
I'm a communard, right? I bought a chicken, ate the chicken, and now using the rest of the chicken, right? Don't throw out anything.
well, of course not. That was the best. The best part is the chicken soup after you make the
I
chicken.
I get mad when people throw out food or use too much plastic. Oh, I lost
Yes,
you for a
I
second.
agree with you. I agree with you. I hate to throw out food.
I was going to show you.
Okay. Oh, well, that's all right. Oh, okay. Yes, I can
Okay.
see it. It looks
I
good.
don't, I don't know. I
Thanks,
don't know. Let me turn
Jonathan.
it off. I
This
don't
is
know
a
anything.
first.
I've never made chicken soup. I don't think so. I just didn't want to throw out the bones and stuff.
think my
Okay, sorry
listeners are
about
going,
that.
what is going on?
You're what?
My listeners are probably going to be saying, what's going on with this interview?
They have to become the watchers because what this is on
It's on
YouTube is
YouTube
what?
also.
Okay,
So the people on
fabulous.
YouTube get to see your chicken soup.
There you
So
go.
everybody, go on YouTube and watch this interview for sure. So how did you get involved? I mean, what brought you to this project? And how many years after, when did you do, well, this is the 20th anniversary. You did this in 2005, but how many
Exactly.
years did it take you to film it? And why did you decide that this was something you felt compelled to do a documentary about?
Well, I grew up like as I was saying before, in the tail end of the baby boom in Long Island, and I don't know if you guys are movie people, right? It's a movie podcast. Some Almost Famous,
Oh, yes.
Cameron Crowe film. So there's
Yes.
that moment when the sister is going off to become a stewardess and move to San Francisco with her boyfriend, and she's like, "Look under the bed. There are record albums, and you'll find the secret to the universe in them." Remember that?
Yes.
And so I had that kind of moment with my sister, who's 6 years older than me, and she had all those records: Working Man's Dead, Waiting for the Sun, Jim Morrison, Lizards, The Desert. And so I always found California and the counterculture kind of magical. And then when I turned 13, was already playing piano and started playing music around town. And then 15, I was in bar band. So I already had a kind of counterculture ethos, having read Steal This Book by Abby Hoffman, and had other counterculture influences like the Marx Brothers, believe it or not, because look at Duck Soup. I mean, talk about anarchy. Um, so the Marx Brothers and Bugs Bunny and Mad Magazine were all very formative. But I recognized that this was kind of a distillation of all those ideas, almost. And again, this is probably dating me a little bit, and it's for my time a bit. But we look back. People are always still looking back to the 60s, right?
Oh, yeah.
20-year-olds, right?
Oh,
So
yeah. It
we
was
hope
the
that
best era.
you know, we did a podcast yesterday with Christian, my co-producer, who grew up in San Francisco, and I was like, "Well, tell me about the vibe," because for me, as like a 15-year-old on a trolley car, my first time in California, it was really magical. I was on a trolley car with my buddy. Somehow, I don't know why, we were allowed to travel out to California, and we had some red wine, like Ripple or something.
Probably.
I don't think we had ever drank one before. And we were drinking on the streetcar, and the conductor was like, "Hey, you can't drink that on here." And he's like, "Unless you give me some." And I'm like, "Oh my God, this is the coolest place in the world." And there was a magic to it for me. But for Christian, it was he said it was a little scary. You had Jim Jones, it was very unsettled, a lot of lunatics running around, So it really depends how you see it.
Oh,
Um,
yeah, but music wise and film wise, it was obviously a great renaissance during that time period, and people go back to that music all the time. I mean, it's just timeless, the music that came out, in the 60s and 70s.
I
It's
know.
truly
Although
timeless.
if I
Yeah.
hear "Light My Fire" one more time, I'm gonna shoot a hippie. No, kidding.
But
But Peter Coyote, who's in the film as a
yes, let's talk about
participant.
Peter Coyote.
Yeah, Peter
Yes.
is a great guy, and involved in all kinds of great things. And back then it was the San Francisco Meme Troupe and the Diggers, and it was like activist theater. And it was street theater and performance
Yes.
art in a way. Like you'd go into a thrift store and you'd say, "Hey, how much is that color TV over there?" And they'd be like, "Well, I don't know. You're the manager." And they hand you the manager badge.
Crazy. Well, that's where Robin Williams, it's
Well,
same kind
he's
of
San
thing.
Francisco too, right?
Yeah.
So I guess
Yeah.
some of that was he involved with those groups?
I don't know.
I don't know either, yeah. But he has a touch of that for sure. Kind of,
Mhm.
well, he was just a one of a kind, yeah.
Yes, he was.
But Peter grew
Yes,
up in that world, and a lot of them were involved in that. And then after that, kind of dealing with the natural disaster that sort of was San Francisco, again, maybe looking at it more from a realistic or darker side too, in that 15-year-olds were arriving from Ohio, coming to the hate and tripping, and there was just the literally the natural resources, and so people in these groups were there to help. And then they were like, "Okay, it's over. The hippie thing's over." They had like a death. There was a death of the hippie and death of rock and roll thing. And
Well, they all sold out. They all went back. They went to work and became
Many
part of
did,
corporate America and decided to make money.
many did not. Well, yeah, there's nothing wrong with money,
I
but
mean, think of it, it's the baby boomers and they started up the tech companies, made Silicon Valley. They kind of left not all of them. I'm just saying,
yeah,
but
yeah,
the people who grew up in that counterculture, you know, were in it when they were younger, and then they said, "Oh well, now we got to go back and be a part of society," and because
yeah,
not everyone, obviously, but because there's still so many things that came from that era that are still today. One of the people that was in the commune rediscovered echinacea. That
yeah.
was kind of
Yeah.
fascinating.
Michael Tierra he wrote a book called The Way of Herbs.
Yeah, and Elsa,
Also,
Mark,
a great artist and teacher. Yeah.
yes, yeah, and she teaches.
Yep. And all kinds of cool stuff. Harriet and Ephraim helped legalize acupuncture in California and then spreading across the US. So definitely a lot of reconnecting with indigenous practices. Um, Two negative sides on all this 60s stuff is one is what became kind of a cringe exploitation of native practices.
Mm.
So, you're doing a sweat lodge, you have no idea what you're doing. I have a colleague, I teach at Cal State San Marcos, which is a beautiful campus in North San Diego, not far from Solano Beach and Del Mar and all that. And one of my colleagues is American Indian and heavily involved in protecting that. And I was like, wait a minute, you can't just like grab our sweat lodge thing, not really knowing what you're doing. And there's that aspect to it. The other negative side I could talk about is based upon what you're saying. There is a real navel gazing selfishness, not in everyone, and certainly not in the Black Bear community, but in baby boomer ether.
Oh, you froze up. Hopefully, you'll come right back. Oh, you're
Right.
back. Okay.
Okay. Sorry. It was very
Okay.
inward gazing, the whole baby boomer thing. So not a lot of necessarily room, but it's all over the map. It's, there's a lot of changes that were very successful, that people don't. Yeah. So that was one of the reasons to make the film, right? It's like, oh yeah, the whole reclaiming and popularizing of native practices of healing, herbology, and all that, and
Yeah.
acupuncture. That was a win.
Right.
Feminism was a win from the
Yeah.
60s, although that's being challenged now to a degree. Uh,
Yes.
all kinds
Everything's
of
being challenged right now. So
all
it's all.
kinds of all kinds of wins came out of that era. It is
Yeah.
funny though, on the musical front, like Cannoli, who we were talking about before, he was more in the like people who were bummed at Dylan that music went electric. There is that whole kind of
Yeah.
pure folk San Francisco thing.
Right.
And he
Right. Right.
played music, and I think was part of that. But
Yeah.
I personally thought they had great innovations in 60s music
They did. They
from
did.
the
Well,
50s.
Jonathan, unfortunately, our time is run out. But where can people see Commune, the 20th anniversary restoration? Give us that website again where we can find out where there will be screenings.
Yeah, well, thanks again, Jan.
Welcome.
Commune the movie is on Instagram and Facebook, and there's our website, which is www.commune the movie, and that will list all the screenings, which are, oh, there's actually a whole run coming up in Long Beach, California for a week.
Great.
Yeah,
Great.
and beyond.
Wonderful.
It's all over the state of California, Hudson, New York, and the dates keep getting added here in New York State. I don't, this must, well, I guess this is where Joseph Smith came.
Oh, yes, he did. He did.
So it's in
The
the air
Angel
here.
Maroney in outside of Rochester, New York, where I used to live also. So yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
yeah,
yeah, yeah, yeah. So yeah, lots of history everywhere. So yeah.
absolutely.
Well, thank you so much, and I wish you much success with this 20th anniversary restoration. Everybody, it's very fascinating. If you love anything about the '60s or want to know more about what happened in the '60s, because I say if you remember it, you really weren't experiencing
That's what they
the
say.
'60s.
I
So
was 5 or whatever, so I haven't.
I will not admit how old I am, but anyhow,
Okay, well, you look like you
anyhow,
need to be checked
every
for ID.
sorry.
You look like you need to be checked for ID. You
Aren't you
might be
sweet?
underage.
You're very sweet. I appreciate it. Well, everyone seek out Commune. It's a really fascinating documentary for sure. So great success with this one. And thank you for being on the show.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jonathan. Take care. Have a great day.
You too. Bye.
Bye.